Well, we decided there was so much we didn't get to cover in our first half hour. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you deal with people that have so much knowledge, you cannot fit it into a half hour. And as we got into our list of questions, we didn't get quite halfway through. We really got into the depth of what you need to know when you're dealing with sewage and drainage problems, and that's a vital component for the house that most people kind of overlook. So with that, let's jump in here a little bit with regard to some of the other things I definitely want to make sure people understand. But tell me, what is the one thing that you guys do that really separates you guys from your competitors and from the other options that people have out there, especially the do-it-yourselfers, I guess? What would you say really separates you? And you talked about something interesting earlier. I don't see if up to you what you want to talk about, but Sherry or Marty, who wants to tell me about that?
Well, we're family owned. We're smaller. You know, we're not more like the corporate world. We treat people as people, not numbers. We even named our company A&J Drain after our daughters, Ashley and Jessica.
That was the one I was going for, because it's interesting. A lot of people do name it for their something interesting or influencing or seems, you know, authentic and whatever they come up with. But to name it after your daughters, that's pretty neat. So that really helps bring in the family side of this to say the girls are part of this, whether they, you know, realize it or not. But it's a family affair for you guys to have a business that is named after your daughters. That's unique. I hadn't seen that. I guess that's happened before on our planet, but that's really neat. So are the girls involved? Do they help?
Yep, our oldest daughter is in the office learning my job, actually. Hopefully someday I'll get to retire. And then our son-in-law from our other daughter, he's on the cable crew, so he's one of our techs. Yep.
And he runs the cables for everybody.
Well, he cables cameras. He does a lot, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the new technology we talked about. You guys, in the first interview, if you missed it, watch where we show they have a camera that fishes down. It can show you some crazy stuff that goes down and you find in drain. We played the video where, check this out in the previous interview, there's somebody put the cable wire for the cable company or whoever it was, and right through the pipe, causes things to clog, causes all kinds of problems. Your cameras can detect all of that stuff and much more. Some of it, it's interesting to see for sure. That's pretty cool that you can do that. So we talked a little bit about what is mucking. This is a word you guys have talked to me off camera about. What is mucking? Tell me what that is.
So it's a mixture of grease, waste, toilet paper, could be wipes that people flush down their drain, anything like that. And what it does is it gets in there and creates something like a goo. It's basically like taking your hand and sticking it down into a jar of honey and pulling it back out. So you could be there 8 hours trying to cable it, and the cable will never open the line up. It just keeps going back and forth through it, and then it closes back up. So that's when you got to run a jetter or hydrojetter, some people call it, through there, and it's all water, high pressure water, and it actually breaks all that stuff down into little particles, and the water pressure takes it out.
Okay, because that was the next question I had. You talked about jetting, a jetter. And this is like some kind of a high pressure thing. Is it like a power washing thing, but it goes down a pipe? It's probably a different design, obviously, to fit down a pipe.
Pressure washers, people will take pressure washers and think that they're jetters or roll around carts, and that's not what a jetter does. A jetter is on and off so fast you couldn't even see it. It's basically pulsation is what they call it. It helps it move down the line, plus it breaks down the particles into small pieces where it could be rinsed out of the pipe.
And these are tactics you use that can really save people a whole lot of. How often is somebody they don't go through this process and they go, let's just get the whole drainage system replaced?
Yep.
That's a costly thing. Does that happen a lot?
It does. People think that another company will come in and tell them that they need it replaced. Always get a second opinion before you replace your line. Always get a second opinion.
Get somebody in there to take another set of eyes. Sherry, you've dealt with this. How often do people make these mistakes and they would have just called you guys?
Well, I don't know how many times
they wouldn't have had that problem.
Yeah, I don't know how many times somebody will call, well, we just bought this house 6 months ago. And I said, did you get a camera in? And they're like, no. I'm like, always get a camera in. And It'll tell you what problems it has before you run into your problems.
Well, that's important as a matter of the technology. As a camera guy, I've got multiple cameras. I've been in the studio. We have multiple. But yeah, now these cameras are so small that they can run them down. If you missed that segment again, everybody, go watch that part of segment number 1. 28 minutes we talked about it, and a piece of it of the interview. But literally, it goes down like the sewer snakes do. And is it attached to a sewer snake, or how does that get in?
No, it's on a rod. It's a fiberglass rod.
Okay, it's a fiberglass rod that actually goes and bends.
Correct.
Okay. That will make sense as to how that works. Tell me, though, what is a mistake that most people make? I've kind of covered that, but if we can be very specific, here's one big mistake people make that they need to be wary of when they're dealing with these kinds of issues.
Never buy a house until you run a camera down the line. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I know that's something that 5, 10. How long ago was it before we had cameras that could do this? How long has the cameras?
They've been out since I think we sold the first ones back in 1990, 1989, but they were size of a baseball, so there's only certain lines you could take it down. Now the cameras are a lot smaller. You could run them down. They're self-leveling. They're color. You don't have to watch black and white. Self-leveling means when you're going down, the water stays on the bottom of the pipe instead of looking at the camera upside down trying to figure out what you're looking at. So it makes it a lot easier.
Okay, yeah, the technology, but I didn't realize it had been around for 20, 30 years at this point. And how many people just like, I can't figure, how are you going to figure that out? Let's just stick our sewer snake down there and we'll get it loose enough. And they may temporarily fix it, I guess,
Right.
but then it ends up coming back very quickly because they only open enough for water to seep out of there. Is that what
Right.
happens? And
Yeah.
they
And
don't
then
realize
they'll
it.
back up a week later or something and have us come out there and we'll run a camera and show them why,
Okay.
why they didn't actually open the pipe. And it's years and years and years of doing it, learning from our mistakes. It isn't like we just started this. We've been doing it for a long time. So it's a lot of years of doing different lines and seeing how things go. And mistakes I've made in the past, I'm cabling from the roof and next thing you know, it's coming up the toilet in the people's basement and broke the toilet. So stuff like
Wow.
that happens because somebody decided they want to add a basement toilet and they just cut the pipe at the basement and put a T there instead of a sweep going out. Should always sweep out to the sewer. Well, they didn't. They put a T at the bottom so you can go either direction. And instead of going out to the sewer, it took out the toilet.
Holy cow. Okay. Back into the get an expert, everybody, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can cause yourself a lot more problems. We use the analogy all the time. Do it right the first time because it saves you money in doing so rather than to halfway get it done and have to redo everything, come back and do it again. Wow. Okay. Tell me a time when you guys feel like you really helped a client. Do you have a specific story where you had somebody you're like, wow, could have been a lot worse, but you stepped in to help them out?
We were doing a job down in Farmington area, Bonne Farmington. We weren't going down that far before. We would do Festus, surrounding areas, DeSoto, and then we had people calling us, begging us to come down and getting second opinions and third opinions on things. But we pulled up to a job and the lady goes, I need you guys to run your camera in here and just, we heard about you guys, we want to see what's going on. She had a couple little kids, so she was quoted $11,000 or more to have her sewer replaced by 2 different companies. And we went down there and ran the camera in first. It was clogged. Ran the jetter in, cleaned up the line so it drained down, ran the camera back in. There's globs of roots out by the main. So we cleaned up the roots with the jetter, got them all out, the rest of the line clean, and she said, so how much is you going to charge me to replace my pipe? I said, ma'am, there's nothing wrong with your pipe. Your plastic pipe from the inside all the way to the main, you just got a hairline crack where roots are growing in at the main. Have it cleaned twice a year by a company that's really going to clean it and do it right. And so it saved her
Thousands of dollars.
up 12 to 15,000 is what she was looking at.
Wow. And so the jetter will even cut the roots off.
Oh, yeah.
It's that power. I know that they cut metal sometimes. People, this is a weird thing I've researched by whatever, but metal, water at such high pressure can cut metal I guess it's less pressure than that, what they're putting on this thing, but it will cut through those roots to
Right.
get those removed and just essentially sever them so that they flow out. That's why she found a bunch of roots at the bottom of the drain when you guys were done.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. My dad would argue that today I feel like, ladies and gentlemen, we are quote unquote doubling our knowledge. I've doubled my knowledge with regard to what we're talking about. Just some interesting stuff that until you deal with these and get to have experts on the show to talk to, that you really get into a whole lot that there is to know about what you're dealing with when you talk about the drainage system for a house and for big buildings and all the stuff that you have to deal with. But mostly residential, what your guys' specialty, and that's what you love. You do a little commercial too, is that right?
Yes, we do commercial.
Okay.
Small percentage.
What's the process when somebody wants to get started with you? What's the easiest way to them to say, I want to hire you guys, come in and do this?
They call the office, they talk to my wife Sherry or Jessica or Donna. Donna, I've known her, went to church with her back when we were 8-10 years old, so she's been around a long time, and she came to work for us, and she's very knowledgeable. She knows what we're talking about. It isn't like you're getting a phone call, you're dispatching out somebody that don't know what's going on. The girls are finding out every bit of information they can, so they know the right people to send out and the right equipment to send out to take care of the problem.
Okay. Sherry, tell me about that. What is the process when somebody gets started? He mentioned you, I think, there to say.
Yeah, well, they call in, I say, well, what's backing up? You know, does it back up when you're doing laundry? Does it back up when you flush toilets? You know, because it could be a floor drain, it could be a sewer drain. You know, or they'll say their kitchen sink is clogged. So we know whether to send somebody with a cable, or some people need jetting. They had somebody out to cable and didn't open it, so we send the jet, and we just give them prices and we set the time.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys have the process, the onboarding process, if you will, to make sure you get people addressed, because these can be urgent issues for people, and they can't be waiting around for this to get resolved. They could turn into much bigger problems for a lot of people, and that's something that obviously you guys, 17 years in business, you know what you're doing and can get these addressed quickly. Tell me, with regard to your business, or because we like to share stories with people a little about a challenge you guys have had to overcome, either in running the business, or when you were building the business, or when you started the business, or when you ran into an issue where somebody else kind of got left out there and you had to help them, and it was a big challenge that obviously you had to address and come through for the customer.
A challenge would be when I first started, I bought a van. It was $1,800. I bought it in North County. With the side of it was rusted out, the back of it was rusted out. My cutters were falling down the road. It was just a nightmare, and I didn't have the money to buy equipment, so I had to work a lot of long hours just to be able to get a vehicle that would make it there safely.
So that's a story of literally starting from the bottom and saying, let's make this
Yes.
thing happen, and do whatever it takes to get a vehicle that might have been, you know, not as adept as you would have liked, but it gets you started, and that's how you. So now we're talking to somebody, ladies and gentlemen, a couple who's really started from the
Ground zero.
ground zero all the way up, and then you know their heart's in it. These are the people you're dealing with, so that they're going to get the job done because they're so much invested into this.
And now we got 7 vans, all kinds of jetters, different camera size that go into pool lines. I mean, just
We've grown.
the best equipment you can buy.
There you go. So from one vehicle that was just getting you by, up to 7 now that go around and help the whole St. Louis metro area,
Yep.
and most all of St. Louis to help get this done. Very good to see the growth that you've got going on there. Do you have a favorite quote that's kind of inspirational, or anything that kind of motivates you, or just something that helps you keep going? 'Cause we like to learn a little about how the brain of a successful person works, and something you might share as a tidbit, or at least a strategy to help people understand. And I guess what it sounds like, from what I'm hearing from you guys, it's stick through it no matter what, make it happen, never give up, and if you just keep going, you're going to have a successful business.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. People think you got all this money. No, you just work, and if you put the time in, and dedication in to make it work, it'll happen. But you got to put the time in. It isn't a 3-hour day job or 8-hour day job. It's 24-hour day job.
Interesting. But do you also argue that it's worth it when you put it all together because you've had the autonomy, that's something you've built yourself, you feel a sense of pride, something you've really created yourself?
Absolutely.
Tell me a
We've
little
helped a lot of people over the years, yes. That the satisfaction of watching older women that the husband just passed away and they were getting taken advantage of and going in and taking care of them. And couldn't charge that lady because she's already went through it, and just to they're crying on your shoulder and everything when you're leaving. It's God put us here to help each other. If we can't help each other, we shouldn't be here. That's the bottom line.
And that to me is an important point that we don't get to as often. I try to emphasize this stuff. I think a lot of people do. I've got a lot of feedback from people who've watched our shows, but we talk about this isn't just a business. This is your livelihood. This is what you do as a passion, and it allows people to have a happy life, not just something where they showed up every day and did something because they had to do something with their time, but they really get to contribute to our little planet. And then when you involve yourself like that, you really become dedicated. You become happy and fulfilled, I think, and that's what we like to emphasize that small businesses in particular get to do. Would you guys agree with me about
Yes.
that?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's a cool point that we like to emphasize as we get into what business is all really about. Tell me, there's obviously some people might have an objection, something they're like, I'm not sure. Why do I need to do this? What is the number one objection you often see that people are like, tell me why I need to do that? What would you say?
Run the camera.
Run the camera.
Over and over
Cameras
again.
that,
It's
you know,
really nice.
and if somebody don't want you watching as they run the camera, call a different company. You can be right next to us. You're going to see us put the camera into your pipe. You're going to see us as we take it down. You're going to see your whole pipe from your clean out all the way to the main, or from the clean out to the main and clean out back under the house. You're going to see us doing it right then and there. Don't wait for a video to come down the road, you know, and you want to see what's going on. Be there and see what's going on. They're really neat how they work.
Yeah, I say so. The objection any objection can be overcome with what we like to call full disclosure. And what
Right.
you're saying, come over here and look at my output from the camera. You can see what I'm talking about. Versus there might be some guys saying, well, there's nothing major going on
Right.
here, but
Right.
we can sell this job. And you just want people that are willing to share all the information. I believe that's a great way, great strategy for life and for business. Just tell them how it is and let them make the informed decision.
Exactly.
That's key to success, I believe, in general, but great point that you've helped us to emphasize there. Do you have a particular satisfaction from this, that when you go home at night, you're like, I just feel really good about what we did today? I can only imagine, because you've got so many people that are like, they're in dire situations and they're looking at big problems that could further cause heavy costs. And at the end of the day, you're going, yeah, we stayed till 8 o'clock at night to get this done, or 2 in the morning. I guess you've told me some stories, but is that what the full? Tell me what that satisfaction is like for you.
We like it because when you go into a restaurant, and we go into different restaurants all the time, and people come yell out my name, or one of the guys' name, and my guys are great guys. They all do great jobs. We appreciate them so much. We got 3 of them that's going to be there 10 years as of this year. Another one that's going to be there 5 years. We're still looking for more help, but it's hard to get. We train people, but when they yell out your name and they, say, hey, Marty, they took care of this for me. My house was flooding. This was going to cost me this much, and they did it for this. And you can go to bed at night and sleep and know that you didn't take advantage of anybody. That's where we are.
Well, that's why we talk about the best way to live your life is with a clear conscience, right? And we all know about the times when things didn't seem to go in a fair way, or a time when didn't get what you paid for in a particular instance, without calling anything out specifically. We've all been there, but it's the best method for a successful business, I guess, is the advice you have there to say, just do the job right, do it the best of your capability, and be honest with all of what's going on so that they get full disclosure and can understand what they're dealing with. And that's all we're really asking for. Is that too much for everybody to ask for everybody? But that makes the world go around. I think it makes it easier for everybody. No matter what background or history or whatever is there, go out there and allow people to just get the job done right. Do you believe that's what's led to your success?
Definitely.
Definitely. Sherry, you think so too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good
God
stuff.
blesses us.
Well, that's how it works generally, and that's what we like to emphasize. So I appreciate you talking about that. How do you feel like you best contribute to the community? Are there any particular charities you're part of, or any other organizations you work with, or I would say it's got to be very fulfilling just to be able to help people keep that house in order so they're not having to go.
We got a lot of charities that we help out. Focus on missions.
Yeah, Hand in Hand,
Hand
Women's
in hand
Center.
pregnancy.
Hand in hand, focus on missions. Okay.
Yeah, Larry Rise.
Yep, the Larry Rice
there's-
downtown.
There's a lot of them that we try to stay quiet about and do because God says don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing, you know. So, but
But we also have helped out some area schools,
Yes.
and done some trunk or treats, and
So it sounds like you're pretty closely involved in the community because these times when you're doing trunk or treats, right? It's when the people park all their cars and
Yeah.
they put the candy together and everybody meets at the parking lot and all the kids come through. I've done a number of those.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of things we never have mentioned that kind of thing. I've done them before, but something to think about, everybody. If you want to get back involved with the community, do a trunk or treat. That's a great Halloween, and then there's holidays all year long. But then summer's kind of winding down, obviously. But you get those kids together and you do those are the kinds of. What do you think is most exciting about the trunk or treat? Because you really get to meet and interact with people more closely.
yeah, or you know, somebody comes up and says, "Oh, we used you guys," because we usually give them pens and magnets and bags and all kinds of stuff, and they see our name on it. So
Well, great involvement you have there because our community is the most essential. That's literally. I mean, I use the word community a lot on our show, but if you understand, everybody understands what community means, and matter of commune together, bring the people together because so often it's just if we all just understood each other a little bit better because we did have a conversation with each other, then we can understand what is really going on versus what somebody heard and somebody said, and that's why I think the community is so critical to our culture, to our world, to our planet, to our country, and everything that goes along those lines. And it's good to hear somebody that really is involved in helping to contribute to the community that makes such a difference. You talked a little bit to me about what you guys do for fun. Do you like to travel? Is that kind of is that your oasis? You get away a little bit? Tell me what you do because every once in a while you need to take a break.
we used to go on cruises
yeah,
once a year in February so we could get away from winter because I'm not a winter fan. And when you
then
work
COVID hit.
outside, that's why. But then we ended up buying land down in Ellington, Missouri, and we got 80 acres down there and just built a barnuminium, and we work on that pretty much every weekend. So
Okay.
that's our
our
new
getaway.
getaway.
So not too far from what, given that sweat equity, working on a place that you can do the construction, you can do some of the work yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can fix a drain underneath somebody's house, you can probably assemble a building pretty
Yeah.
well and do the plumbing and everything involved with that. As a hobby that also is a great investment in someplace for you to maybe retire at or something. Is that
Yeah.
kind of the plan there too? Last little discussion topic I wanted to talk about. So I'm kind of throwing this one on you, but as we've seen, what do you think we can do on our little planet right now to help find because everybody talks about right now, it's hard to find good employees. And what do you think, what are some of the methods you've used and some of the means you've found to get good employees, and what are the struggles, some of what you're going through? So maybe somebody can give some feedback to us to say, here's a good method we found, or here's something, or here's how we fixed that. Is that a problem that we're dealing with to an
That's a
extent?
problem across the board with any trade, but especially into plumbing because there's a lot of the plumbers or older plumbers and they're retiring or closing their businesses because they don't have family to leave it to. Us trying to find people, it's very hard to get people that meet our criteria of being, you know, drug-free,
Motivated.
treat people like the way we want them to treat people and not have an attitude or anything when they get there. It's very hard to find good people to work, and that's why we are actually training my grandson now, which is Sean's son, my son-in-law's son.
Okay.
He's 16, but we're going to be training him for 2 years to get him into it, and hopefully one of my other employees' sons will be next because it's really hard to find good people to work.
Well, I'm with you on that, and that is a key of survival. And personally, with our business, we're always working hard to find good people that want to put the time and dedication in to make a successful business. And It seems as though that's a hurdle that has been a problem throughout time, but recently has kind of reemerged as something that kind of stands out. And I think what a lot of people should probably just keep in mind, if I would offer anything to our audience, look for the great companies that you know that are willing to train. You do train your employees, and
Yes.
we'll send them to training, or you give them in-house training.
We
to help
train them the way we want it done and the way it needs to be done instead of the way other people have been trained just so they don't do shortcuts and cheat the customer. We don't cheat customers.
No cheating. There you go, ladies. No cheating the customer. I mean, that seems like it's so elementary, but there are always shortcuts that people can take.
Yep.
And we talk about this. Shortcut usually leads to a problem.
Right.
And so it's just not necessarily the best avenue to take. Sherry, you want to talk about that a little bit? And you've been running the business now. What's it been like?
Well, I mean, we have had some employees that have taken the shortcut, and they're not here anymore. So,
Yeah.
but you get a recall, and we pride our company on hoping we don't have recalls. So we try our best to do the job right the first time, and it's hard to find that person that will do what we train, and not take the shortcuts.
Well, that's something I would like to emphasize, everybody. Take the time, put the energy out there, find a good company. Look up AJ Drainage Service. Are you guys hiring? Obviously,
Yes.
It sounds like you are. It's just you're saying you're having a little problem like many people are. And I would like to make the argument that I think that most people, as we talked a little bit before, life is much more fulfilling. I didn't say it was easy. I didn't say it was something that was just going to be a piece of cake. It's not something that you're just going to wake up one day and go, no effort necessary, but it's much more fulfilling. Would you agree? When you've built something from scratch and then you've built it with people who will help you, and those people who helped you now feel great about the contribution they've made, so they can wake up every day and go, man, I feel really good about what I've done. Is that part of the benefit of being business owners?
Yes. Watching our guys succeed and doing what we can for the guys, watching a guy that had nothing come in, and next thing you know, he's got a new car, he's got a house. We like seeing the guys succeed. We don't take the money and stuff it in our pocket. It goes back into the business or into the guys. And that's all we need.
Well, we hit on kind of a new topic there. We've talked a little bit about how the environment is necessary to find good people to work, and that seems a bit of a shortage these days. But we hadn't really hit on the core elements behind that and why it's important. Because we want to encourage people. There might be some people sitting at home right now saying, hey man, I kind of got it made here. Life is easy. I don't have to put all the time in. But you're missing out on life, I think.
Yeah.
And if you want to dive in with a company that has done well, and AJ, and there's a number of other companies out there, but you would encourage, imagine you would encourage people, go out there and get a job and make a difference. All right, great stuff, everybody. Hey, stay tuned for more. This is the Your Little Castle Show, another great half-hour discussion we've had here, and we're going to continue to do more, bring it out to the community. Thanks for joining us, and give a shout-out to our guests here, A&J Drain Service, LLC. All right, everybody, we'll talk to you soon. Giddy up.